The words of our meditation hymn have a lovely message for us as we turn our attention from January's ministry theme of the path of centering to February's theme, the path of love. As we explored with our children earlier in our service, there are so many kinds of love between family members, biological and chosen, love of friends, love of animal companions, love of the natural world that surrounds us, and so much more. And there is a larger love, perhaps another way of naming spirit, or mystery, or God, or something even beyond naming and understanding, that I believe holds us all and never lets us go. It is important as we move through the season of Valentine's to remember the truth that there are all kinds of love, and that love is expressed in a myriad of ways. Let us not be limited to or constrained by the commercialized and consumeristic messages of what love is or isn't that bombard us from every direction, especially this time of year. Instead, let us remember a deeper meaning of love, a love that we place at the center, at our center, that we use to guide us in our choices and our actions. Last Sunday was the beginning of our process here at UUCville to explore our congregation's stated mission and purpose. Our current mission statement was written and adopted many years ago. It was crafted with care and has served us well. And we are, in many ways, a different congregation than we were when this particular statement was adopted. Part of being a living faith tradition is that we take seriously our commitment to our ongoing growth and change and new understandings and transformation as individuals and as a people. This is part of why we come together each week, to be helped and inspired by one another so that we can continue to grow and to change and evolve and to be transformed. And we live in a constantly changing world. We know that, as Maya Angelou put so beautifully, you do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, you do better. Growth begets change. We understand things now that we didn't, or we understand them differently than we did when our current mission statement was created. I want to be clear that there isn't anything inherently wrong with our current mission statement. It is that a living tradition, articulating our mission and purpose, isn't a once and done kind of thing. What we need is for all of us who are engaged with our congregation now to make sure that we have a guiding statement that, with thanks to our history and the people who worked so hard to get us to where we are today, reflects who we are now as a congregation and who we aspire to be. We need an articulated shared purpose that unifies and energizes us and that we feel connected to. Board members Pam McIntyre and Chris Little and Reverend Tim shared some thoughts during worship last week about the important mission purpose work that we are undertaking this winter. And if you missed last Sunday's service, I hope you'll find it on our YouTube channel and watch it when it's posted. And please do sign up to participate in the cottage conversations taking place in the coming weeks so that you can hear your fellow congregants' ideas of who we are and who we want to be. And we need you to share your thoughts and your longings too. As we engage in our mission purpose work here at UUCville, There are similar efforts underway in our denomination on the national level. This effort is primarily about what we know as our UU principles and purposes. For those of you in the sanctuary this morning who aren't sure what these are, you can find them in the front of the gray hymnal. We also have them framed over our membership book. The language preceding the principles and purposes says, "We affirm and promote," which is different from a creed, as we are not requiring a profession of faith or a belief, but more of an affirmation of shared understandings and values. The principles and purposes serve as inspiration and grounding for the work of the Unitarian Universalist Association, its member congregations, and for many of us as UUs. They connect member congregations to each other and to a larger UU identity, and they have done so for the past 38 years. The purposes and principles were last substantially revised in 1985 at the UUA's Annual General Assembly. Many of you have heard me talk about the principles and the purposes and how foundational they are in helping all of us, children and youth and adults, be able to articulate who we are as UUs and the values that we hold in common. The UU congregation that raised me in Lubbock, Texas, and its loving people were instrumental in shaping who I am today. Growing up, it was hard to explain to other people, especially other kids, what it meant to be a UU. I can remember trying to articulate what it meant by saying things like, "Well, we don't have to dress up for church. In fact, we can wear our pajamas to church and nobody would care." Now remember, I grew up in conservative West Texas, where dressing up for church was what my peers and their families did. Heck, dressing up for a trip to the grocery store was expected. And you can wear your jammies to church if you want to, just saying, anytime, but especially next Sunday, when we're all encouraged as we have our annual PJs and pancake service that Mary Beth told you about in our announcements. Sometimes it can be difficult to articulate what it means to be a UU. People of all ages say things like, "I'm a UU, so I can believe anything I want," which actually isn't true. We do have shared understandings about things of ultimate importance and a theological grounding as a faith tradition in the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We can't each just believe anything we want, especially during times when hate and misinformation are the cause of so much suffering and injustice. This is why, or part of why, I appreciate having our principles and purposes as a way to help us all have common words to share about what we value and what guides us as we continue to grow as a people of faith. Adapting our principles to the rainbow chalice for our children has been fun and a meaningful mnemonic device for young and old alike. And yet, I've shared with you in the past that our 7 principles, as currently written, are missing something. We've explored together the idea of a proposed 8th principle, adopted by other UU congregations and affiliate organizations, that calls us to build a diverse and multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. Now, I want to be clear that the work of the 8th Principle Project is separate and different from the work of the Article 2 Study Commission that was charged by the UUA Board in 2020 to review the UUA's Article 2 bylaws. The Article 2 Commission's final report has just been released, and I want to share a bit of it with you because, like our own congregation's mission and purpose, the recommendations of the Commission are important. The Commission was charged to propose any revision that will enable our UUA, our congregations, and our covenanted communities to be a relevant and powerful force for spiritual and moral growth, healing, and justice. Proposed changes would articulate core UU theological values. The board believes that one core theological value shared widely among UUs is love. Following a large study on Unitarian Universalism in a report entitled Engaging Our Theological Diversity, we learned that Unitarian Universalists place a high value on love. The kind of love that Dr. Cornel West invokes when he says, justice is what love looks like in public. Part of the charge in the Article 2 Commission states, we therefore charge the Commission to root its work in love as a principal guide in its work, attending particularly to the ways that we and our rooted traditions have understood and articulated love, and how we have acted out of love. So some good people, some committed UU kin, went to work on this task on all of our behalf. They have been meeting and working and creating resources and engaging UUs around the country in reflection and conversation over the last 2 years. And just last month, they issued their report, which is available to all of us on the UUA website. The report explains the Commission's charge, the bios of the Commission's members, explains their process and their timeline, and more. And I really encourage you to read it. It is very readable. It offers a proposed revision to Article 2, the part of the UUA bylaws that has our purposes and principles. Here is some of what it says. The purpose of the Unitarian Universalist Association is to actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. It goes on to say, as Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. End quote. The report then offers the following image, which has been called the values flower. The 6 values named that spiral out from the centered chalice and letters LOVE are interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. In paragraph form, the report lists each of these values and then language around how we covenant with each other around each value. I'll share 2 of the examples here this morning and invite you to explore all 6 of them in the report yourself. And there is a copy of the report in the social hall that you can look at after worship today. And as I said, it's available for anybody to see online on the UUA website. So let's look at interdependence. The value is stated, interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. And then it says, we covenant to cherish earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships with care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Now let's look at justice. The value is stated, justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where we all thrive. And then we covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. The 4 other values identified in the Commission's report are also described and then followed by a statement of covenant. The Commission's work is powerful. It's centered in love, and it looks and sounds different in many ways from our current 7 principles and 6 sources. Yet you may have noticed there is familiarity too. Does this new graphic and language perfectly capture who we are or who we aspire to be? No, it doesn't. And perhaps that isn't possible or even necessary. But it does give us opportunities to engage with each other and our sibling UUs across the country around what matters most to us as Unitarian Universalists and how we want to express these values to ourselves and to the wider world. The Commission included in their report the acknowledgement that no matter what they created, they knew there would be things that people had wished had been added, things that people don't like, and things that people appreciate. They write, "What we tried and what we think we succeeded in doing was to create an Article 2 that articulated our faith today and in the near future." So what happens now? Well, the UUA board has received and shared the report, and conversations are happening in congregations and professional organizations and in UU regions and in clusters. And delegates from UU congregations, including ours, will have the opportunity to attend mini assemblies at our denomination's annual General Assembly in June in Pittsburgh. These proposed amendments will be placed on the General Assembly agenda for consideration. The final version of Article 2, as amended by the UUA Board of Trustees and/or this year's 2023 General Assembly, must receive a simple majority vote to move forward for a final vote at next year's 2024 General Assembly. It will take a 2/3 majority vote at the 2024 General Assembly to adopt a new Article 2 in the UUA bylaws. And if either of these votes fail, a similar proposal cannot be considered for 2 years. So, if this really interests you and excites you, and you would like to attend General Assembly, or GA as it is called, and be one of our congregation's delegates, please reach out to Board President Pam McIntyre and let her know. Also, anyone can register and attend GA as a non-delegate. For all of us, now is our time to reflect on what has been recommended, to try it on, to see how it fits, to notice where it challenges us, and where love calls us boldly to go. For as we're reminded both in word and action, love is at the center. Reverend Tim said in his sermon last week that at the heart of all of this is a deep connection to love, a love that is universal and unconditional, a love that is gentle and caring, a love that is joyful and fun, a love that welcomes and celebrates all people and transcends all that divides the human family into us and them and friend and enemy until we are all saved. I believe that the love that is at the heart of Unitarian Universalism, he says, and that it can save lives and transform the world. And to this I say, yes, and amen. And I'm wondering, can I get an amen? For as we sang together in our meditation hymn, our words matter little if they're not paired by actions grounded and centered in love. So let us pay attention to what is happening denominationally, and let us organize ourselves here at UUCville around our shared mission and purpose. Let us vision and dream together who we want to be with each other and what our purpose is in the wider community and in the world. What are we, as the UU congregation of Charlottesville, uniquely positioned to do? Let us, together, boldly answer the call of love and place it at the center. Let love be our guide as we live our deepest values alongside each other and join in the work to help heal our wonderful, messy, broken, beautiful, heartbreaking world. May we be emboldened by faith so that we dare to proclaim that we, the Unitarian Universalists of Charlottesville, are answering the call of love every day in our words and in our deeds. Amen, and blessed be. I invite